Hi, everybody, and welcome back for Chapter 15 of Theodore Boone, The Accomplice by John Grisham. I'm going to jump right in. Chapter 15. By Monday morning, the entire 8th grade knew that Woody was free and returning to school. To avoid attention, he arrived early and secured himself in homeroom with Mr. Mount. His facial wounds were still visible, and he was tired of talking about them. On the one hand, he was embarrassed by his arrest and legal troubles, but on the other hand, he was thrilled to be back at school with his buddies. And if the girls wanted to smile and say hello, that was okay too. Several times during the morning, as he was once again welcomed back, he said, "Yeah, Theo got me out." Theo wanted no credit whatsoever. He had helped a friend in need, something he would readily do again. He was delighted to see Woody smiling. They had hit the books hard over the weekend, and Woody seemed eager to catch up. Their teachers, Madame Monique in Spanish, Miss Garman in geometry, Mr. Tubchek in chemistry, and of course Mr. Mount in government, acted as though Woody had never missed a class. Each quietly offered to meet with him after school for extra tutoring. At lunch, Theo and April Finmore bought a sandwich and sat together on the playground alone. They had not spoken much in the past days. Theo had been so preoccupied with Woody's bail that he had neglected her. April was a quiet, shy girl from a troubled family, and she needed Theo's attention. She was different, a loner, who enjoyed reading and painting. Her style of dress was whispered to be artsy, and she cut her hair short. She had few girlfriends and didn't want any. The other girls were too busy staring at their phones, gossiping about one another, and April considered them to be airheads. "Did you really get him out, Theo?" she asked. Theo rarely bragged. His parents had taught him to be humble and let his actions speak for themselves. Nobody likes a bragger, his father had said many times, especially around the golf course, where big talking was not unusual. But with April, Theo felt secure. She would never repeat anything, so he took a deep breath and replayed the entire story. Monday afternoon brought the required visit to see Uncle Ike. Theo had mixed feelings about it, because Ike was generally in a foul mood and had nothing good to say about anything or anybody. He was a lonely old man with few friends and no family. His wife divorced him long ago when he went to prison, and his adult children were far away and too busy to call. But as Theo grew older, he began to wonder if Ike was as unhappy as he let on. He played poker at least once a week with a group of retired lawyers and cops. He knew more courthouse gossip than anyone. He was in a weird book club that only read biographies. Elsa had once dropped a hint that Ike had a longtime lady friend in another town. Theo suspected that being grumpy was just part of Ike's routine. "How's my favorite nephew?" he asked, as Theo fell into the creaky leather chair. Judge settled next to his feet. Same question, every Monday. "I'm your only nephew. My buddy got out, thanks for the loan." "Don't mention it. How's he doing?" "He came back to school today and it was like he was a hero. You want to hear about his armed robbery?" "Sure." Ike wheeled around his swivel chair, reached into a small fridge, removed a can of beer and a can of ginger ale. He turned a knob on his stereo and lowered the volume so that Bob Dylan could barely be heard. He popped the top and swung his feet onto his desk, same old sandals. Theo described the armed robbery with the water pistol. When he finished, he asked, "What will happen to Woody?" "He'll probably get the death penalty in this town." "Come on, Ike. They can't convict him of anything, can they?" "Does he have a good lawyer?" "Public defender." "Some of those guys are good. I don't know much about youth court, Theo. I was far away from my youth when I got busted." "Plus, you were a tax lawyer, right?" "Right. I stayed away from the criminal stuff. That is until they came after me." "How are your grades?" "Perfect," Theo said immediately. He had learned that anything less than straight A's would prompt a mini lecture on the virtues of studying harder. How many adults were carefully watching his grades? Too many. Ike took a swig of beer and asked, "How are things over at Boone and Boone?" "The same. Everybody's working too hard." Ike had been a partner with Theo's parents before he was born. And your mother? She's fine. Ike never asked about Woods Boone, his brother. Can I ask you a question, Ike? Something that might be sort of off limits? Maybe. What's it about? A long time ago you got into trouble. It's not something I talk about. I might explain things one day, when you're older. Maybe not. Okay. I'm not asking about what you did wrong, if anything. My question is, did you have to post bail to get out of jail? Ike took another drink and studied the ceiling fan for a long time. Theo was suddenly worried that he had ventured into forbidden territory. Ike said, "My situation was different. I knew the police wanted me, so I went with my lawyer down to the station. I was photographed and fingerprinted, all that jazz, and placed in a cell for about an hour. Then I was released on personal identification. So, no, I wasn't forced to make bail." Bail seems so unfair. I found an article about it online. This legal scholar wrote that people with no money get stuck in jail for crimes that are not that serious. Shoplifting, bad checks, small drug cases, expired driver's licenses, stuff like that. This is while they are presumed to be innocent, and long before they go to court. A lot of men lose their jobs, and a lot of mothers are separated from their children just because they can't make bail. Well, he's right about that. It's been a problem for a long time. Did this scholar offer a solution? Well, it's pretty obvious. Cut out bail for small crimes and let people go home. He says that virtually all of them will show up for court anyway. Keep bail in place for those charged with violent and serious crimes. And you like to read stuff like this? Yeah, I do. Most kids your age are reading comic books or playing video games, and you're reading about problems with our legal system. Ike was amused and took another sip of his beer. Yes, and the more I read, the more problems I find. Our legal system is pretty good, Theo, better than most, but it could work much more efficiently if we would fix the problems. Bail reform, long prison sentences for nonviolent guys, mass incarceration, wrongful convictions, electing judges. I'm finding all kinds of stuff about how messed up our system really is. It's depressing, Ike, especially for a kid who wants to be a lawyer. So, what are you going to do about it? I don't know. I'm only 13, and my parents will not let me go to law school until I finish college. Sounds cruel. Worse than cruel. So, I suppose I'll just keep reading about the problems until I'm old enough to do something about them. Who says you have to wait? Take Woody's case. Watch what happens to him. Study our youth court system and you'll find plenty of problems. I'm told that our juvenile prisons are in really bad shape. We're talking kids here, Theo. Youngsters like you. So why not get involved to improve things? I'll bet you can find several groups active in youth court reform. I've already run across a couple. There you go. Get involved. Don't wait 10 years. The problems are just getting worse. Theo sipped his ginger ale and absorbed Ike's words. I don't know. I'm busy right now. You sound like your parents. Not happy unless they're talking about being busy. You're 13, Theo, not 40. Don't fall into the trap of planning every moment of every day and keeping an eye on the clock. You know who John Lennon was, right? The Beatle? That's him. In his lyrics, he said a lot of wise things. One I remember goes something like this. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Get it? I guess. If you see a problem, Theo, think of a way to fix it. And do it now. Don't spend all your time making plans. What are you trying to fix, Ike? Nothing. I don't see any problems. Plus, I'm too old. Now, beat it, so I can finish this pile of paperwork. Okay. See you next Monday. And that is it for Chapter 15. Tune in tomorrow for Chapter 16. Thanks.